Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day to check today's video out and spend some time with me. And guys, got another story for y'all today. I like to throw some stories from back in the day out once a month or once every other month. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the day that I took my boat out in the Gulf of Mexico in a tournament, did really good in the tournament, and I'll give you guys the rundown how that went in today's episode here. Also, guys, before we get started, just a quick invitation. I just like to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here at Intuitive Angling. Man, that's a really good and free way to help the channel out. Much appreciated if you guys could just hit that subscribe button, the notification button, share the videos. It really helps the algorithm. And also, guys, anybody interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, just go to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, or shoot me a private message for info there. So appreciate that. Okay, guys, this was a FLW tournament that I fished out of the Pascagoula River in Alabama. This has been, man, God, this has been probably 25 years ago, 20 years ago at least. And anyway, the Pascagoula River, if you're not familiar with it, it's a river that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. And this Pascagoula River is not known to be that great of fishing. In fact, it's supposed to be pretty tough fishing. So prior to this, I didn't know anything about the Pascagoula River. I'd never been down there. I didn't know anything about it. And I had a friend of mine that lived in Louisiana, and I was telling him that we had this tournament coming up down at the Pascagoula River. And he was saying, God, that place sucks over there. He goes, you know what's bad? He goes, if you could just, go down to this next inlet or something, he called it, which was about probably 30 miles down the coast. He said, if you guys were fishing out of that little inlet down there, it's some pretty good fishing down there. So I didn't think anything about it. And then I got looking at the rules in the tournament, and they said that basically there was nothing that was off limits. We could go anywhere we wanted to. So if you're not familiar with the Gulf of Mexico, how it's laid out, there is a series of rivers that dump into the Gulf of Mexico, like, the Mobile Delta, the Pascagoula River, and there's several down through the coast right there that dump into the river. And these rivers that dump in there, the part of them close to the ocean itself, excuse me, they're sort of brackish water. They support bass, and then the farther you get up those rivers, it turns into more fresh water. So anyway, I got thinking about it. It's like, and I looked at the map there, and it's like, this slough area that my buddy was telling me about, this is only like 30 miles, down the coast like that. I said, why couldn't I just run out through the Gulf of Mexico and go up in this area and access it? So anyway, in practice, I drove over there in my truck, and I launched over in this big slough area over there. And right off the bat, I started catching them. I was catching them on a little crankbait around some riprap and industrial places, but my real deal that I was really excited about is I found some of these backwater little ditches, I guess you call them, that had grass in them. And I was catching them, good ones back there, taking a Rapalamino, like an old school Rapalamino, and twitching it just under the surface in those shallow backwaters, especially on low tide. And I was catching some good ones. So it's like, I have got to make this run. I said, there's no way that I can't go down there for that. So you got to realize back then, this was before GPS really had started up. I had a very rudimentary GPS. It was like some little Magellan. It looked like as big as a cell phone, and there was nothing on it except you could put a waypoint on, and you could get to that waypoint. There were no mapping or anything like that. All it was like you could put a waypoint, and then you could punch the GPS, and it would draw you a line to get to the waypoint. So anyway, I went to the mouth of the river there at the mouth of that little slough, and I put a waypoint in, and the next day was the tournament. So I took out of the Pascagoula River, and I didn't know what to expect. So I ran out into the Gulf of Mexico out there, and what I was trying to do is, this was a flat area out there on the Gulf there. So I had to go out probably 2 miles offshore, flat banks out there, to stay in at least 4 or 5 foot of water. So I ran way out into the Gulf of Mexico, probably 2 or 3 miles out into the Gulf. And then I started heading back west to this area, and I was going out there, guys, and I saw porpoises out there around the boat. It was so weird because when you're in the ocean, you got this undulating movement like that. It's like the water wasn't rough the time I was out there, but you have this undulating motion. So anyway, I run all the way down there. I put my GPS, to the point of to the mouth of the slough, get in the slough there, and start cranking that riprap with the little crankbait out there. And right off the bat, I caught a limit. And then I went over into the slough area over there as the tide started going down. I caught a couple good ones over there. So the first day of the tournament, I think I was in, I don't know, probably 5th or 6th place. Second day of the tournament, did the same thing. It was a little bit rougher out there in the Gulf, probably, 2 to 4 footers. It took me probably an hour to get over there in that rough water out there. Every night also, guys, I had to go to the car wash and wash all the salt off my boat from running out in the Gulf of Mexico there. But ran up in there again, and this time I decided to go straight to the little slough on the Rapala. Went straight to the slough and Rapala, spent the day in there, caught another good bag, and I'm like 3rd or 4th in the tournament. And then they cut to the top 10 day. The top 10 day, same deal, ran back, made my run out into the Gulf out there, ran in there, and guys, they were biting better than I've ever seen them. I went straight to the Rapala water there, the twitching it on the surface there. And guys, right off the bat, I caught one about 3.5 pounds, which was a big one. Caught another nice keeper. And then guys, I had 4 more fish on over the next 3 hours. Big ones, like I'm talking about 3 to 4 pounders, which were toads for that tournament. Lost every single one of them. They jumped off, they pulled off. I could not believe it. And anyway, I wound up not even making the top 5. They cut to the 5 the last day. But if I'd have just got those in, I probably would have won the tournament because they were biting so good and I was getting them figured out. But anyway, just a quick story, guys. Running that bass boat through the Gulf of Mexico, that was quite an experience. And it wound up to be a good tournament. Finished in the top 10 in the tournament. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that little story, and we'll check in later.